Hi everyone. Today we have a very special guest joining us behind the post. He's the head of social media at Talkdesk and one of 2025's B2B Social's Rising 30. He has over 10 years of experience. He's got his star, he's showing it. He's over ten years of experience in SaaS, B2B, and B2C businesses. At Talkdesk, he runs social media, executive thought leadership, employee advocacy, content creation, analytics, community building, and more. And in his own words, he loves his team, he loves his job, and he loves social media. So without further ado, I cannot wait to welcome our rising star to the show. Please join me in giving a huge welcome to Jordan Tenenbaum. Jordan, are you ready to go behind the post with me?
Always, let's do it. Thanks for the warm welcome.
Of course, I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm so excited you're already showing off your award. So, over the years, we've collected a lot of questions from social media managers. I'm talking real, honest ones that we don't always want to ask out loud. So, today, I thought I'd bring you in to answer the most important ones that we've collected. And you are the perfect person. So, are you ready to get started?
I only answer important questions, so yes, I'm ready.
Amazing. Let's do it. So I thought we'd start with one of the most common questions we've got lately. It's how do you use AI the right way in social media without losing your voice or creativity?
There's kind of like a complex and a simple answer, and I'd say the simple answer is, try new tools, try new pieces of software, whether it's Claude or AI or Gemini or ChatGPT, whatever it is, you know, try new tools and um, double check the work that comes out of them, whether you're generating ideas, whether you're generating content, whether you're generating descriptions for a YouTube video, just check it. And if it looks like a robot wrote it and it has six rocket ship emojis and lots of long M dashes, and you're reading it out loud and it just sounds not like the way that you write, then just edit the content, use it to generate good ideas, but edit the content and then utilize it, for a post or for a employee advocacy piece of copy, or again, for like a YouTube video description. And so how to use it the right way is use the software and double check it because AI is not at the point where it's perfect yet. It's close, but in order to maintain your voice and do so without losing that creativity, you just have to make sure that it sounds like it comes out. So use the software, double check. That's the kind of simple answer. Um, I'd say the longer answer is figure out how to use AI in as many parts of your work as possible. Whether you're generating shorts from a long webinar, whether you are, again, like taking a video transcription and applying it to create an SEO friendly YouTube video description. Just you really need to work on applying AI to every single thing that you use because if you don't, you're going to be wasting time, you're going to be falling behind. And not just like trying it out, kind of as I mentioned earlier, but really like applying it in every aspect of your job. And then again, it kind of goes back to double checking. So applying AI to every single aspect of your job, but always double checking is, I guess I said one would be a short answer and one would be a long answer. They're about the same length, but one's kind of a more simple way, which is just test it out and then edit it to make it sound like it's coming from your voice. The second side is really, rather than testing it out, like figure out how to use AI across everything that you do, and then make sure that it's edited and double checked and aligned with your kind of creative side and your brand voice.
Yeah, I really agree with you. You'd be surprised how many tools are out there to do so many different things that speed up our day to day, especially social media managers having so much on their plate. And I agree with you. Everything you do, always check it, read it afterwards, and experiment with GPTs as well if you're using ChatGPT. I've been doing that recently, and I also really like doing that. So we got another big question that kept coming up. And it was how do I make executive leadership aware of the impact social is having without sounding like I'm bragging about my job and what I'm doing?
So I I do think bragging is a little bit important. Whether you're doing that to your boss who tells your executive team, whether you're doing that through LinkedIn posts that your executive team might see, or whether you're maybe presenting about social media to the executive team. I do think that that's pretty important. I'm not going to lie. If you are really uncomfortable doing that, then I'd suggest talking to your boss and having like a monthly or bi-monthly or weekly or whatever you feel comfortable with, kind of check in about social media and numbers. And if the numbers are doing good, you should continually inform your boss. Kind of make it more of a check-in than a bragging session. Um, and allow your boss to kind of leverage that information and bring it to the executive leadership team. Um, that being said, I think, and I've done this personally, but reaching out to executive assistants of the executive team and, excuse me, asking if you can have an opportunity to teach them about social media, present why social media matters, present why employee advocacy and thought leadership matters, present why social media is generating XYZ amount of pipeline. And that was something I was really fortunate to do. It took a while, but I was able to get in front of the executive leadership team. And you could view it as bragging. You could view it as just me breaking down the social numbers, which happened to look good. I'm not going to lie. And I did that in front of the executive leadership team. And I talked about how much pipeline this can generate if collectively the company is working with employee advocacy, collectively the ELT, the executive leadership team, is working on thought leadership, and if social media itself can have an XY Z type of effect on pipeline. And so again, I wasn't really bragging, but just presenting like honestly how important social media is, not only for brand voice and share of voice and things like that, but also just for generating pipeline, which honestly is what executive leadership typically cares about. And so you I think bragging is a little subjective. Sometimes if you say something that looks good about yourself, some people might view that as bragging, other people might view that as presenting. And so I guess maybe my best piece of advice here would be don't be too hard on yourself and try and get comfortable with talking about yourself because it can be challenging. It's uncomfortable for me sometimes too. But I've taken that uncomfortable feeling and shoved it into the back of my brain with like, emotions and other things that I
Yeah,
push down.
as you should. Push it back.
Yes, push it back.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing also personal experiences. And I think, as you're saying, is speak their language. If you want to show them the impact, speak the language that they want to hear. And it also really is centering around them having buy-in for social in general and then backing social so that it can have even more of an impact. So it's a good way to frame it as well. I want to move to the next question. We got this question from a few mid-level social media marketers looking to move up, which kind of builds on what we just discussed. They said, how do I advocate for myself so my leadership sees my work and I'm not overlooked for raises or promotions?
It's a really good question. And I'll again talk from social experience, and I kind of want to hear what you do too, Alana, after this. But um, I think like the easiest thing, especially as a social media manager, that we can do and we're probably pretty good at inherently is just start creating some content on LinkedIn. A couple years ago, I decided I was going to do that. It's a little bit cringe, but whatever, it's part of the game. I would talk about work wins. I would talk about a picture with my dog, sometimes silly stuff, sometimes important stuff, accomplishments related to work. But I would also share like analytics and statistics that showed how well my previous companies and currently TalkDesk was doing on social media, comparing us to the competition, showing the spread of likes, comments, engagements, impressions, how it's grown over time since I started at this company. Um, and eventually like the ELT team kind of caught on and they were like, "Oh, this is really cool. Like I want to engage with this content because we're doing really well in this area." And so just by creating content and sharing it on social media and tagging my company, executive leadership will see it and eventually take note that you're doing something important. I'd say the other thing, and at least for me, this is what I see as probably the most important step, maybe not the easiest, but figure out a way to tie the social media content that you create to pipeline generated overall. And so if, let's say your salary is $100,000 and you're generating $3 million in pipeline, you are a very valuable employee to the company. I mean, that's, kind of the same that a salesperson might generate. That's the same that, someone who's generating money for the company is basically valuable. And so, if you can attribute pipeline generation to your social media work, And again, like share that on social media, share it to your boss, present it to the executive leadership team. You're basically saying like you're valuing me at here. I'm producing this much value. Let's meet in the middle, and it kind of sets you up for promotion or reward or a salary raise or something of that nature. And so that's kind of the first thing I'd say. The second thing is just ask. It's not going to hurt. If there's a job opening up at your company, or you think you want a promotion or a raise or a title change, just ask. The
Yeah.
worst someone can do is say no.
Yeah.
It shows that you're putting in effort. It shows that you're ambitious. It shows that you care about your career growth trajectory at the specific company you work at, not at another company, which is important.
Yeah.
And so, kind of related to the last thing I say is push down those feelings of uncomfortability. Put yourself out there. Ask for promotion. Present. Create content on social, and prove that you deserve it.
Yeah.
If you're just quiet and in the corner, you won't. But I'm curious if you have any kind of suggestions or techniques for self advocacy.
Well, one thing I definitely agree with what you just said is you can always ask, and in your career growth sessions or in reviews or anything that comes up, you can let them know where your career progression, where you want it to go. More in line with the question, I'm in a very unique and lucky position working at Octopus. So here we really do value B2B social media, and our leaderships like see it as something that's so important that needs to be ingrained across the whole company. Employee advocacy obviously is really important. I'm in a very unique position where I don't have to push for it because we all really, really, truly believe in it. So for me, it is slightly different. That's why it's interesting to ask an expert like yourself. And I guess shameless plug, we have influenced opportunities at Octopus. So I can show my leadership and my VP of marketing, I can show them this is how many deals have been impacted by social. This is how many things have been influenced. So I am in a very unique and lucky position to have that. But I agree. I think showing what you've done, showing your impact on the company, and really believing in yourself and putting that little voice to the back of your head is the first step to getting to these things like raises and promotions. I want to move to the next question. This one was submitted by a solo social lead who's been doing a lot with very little resources. And they asked, how do I ask for more budget and actually convince people that social is worth the investment?
It's tough. And this is something that I struggle with. And I've in the past asked for budget and been denied it, at previous companies. And I think what it comes down to, it's pretty similar to the last question, in terms of self-advocacy, but you need to prove that it's worth it. And you cannot prove it's worth it without analytics and tracking. Whether you're tracking earned media value from employee advocacy and thought leadership, whether you're tracking pipeline generated, ideally both, um, then you need to gather all of that information and say, with zero budget, we're currently, um, you know, generating, let's say, $1 million in pipeline as an example. With all other marketing in this company, with a, this is just totally made up, but with a $20,000 budget, they're able to generate 1.5 times more pipeline. So if you give me $20,000, we can now generate $1.5 million in pipeline. So you give me $20,000, I utilize it, and now we create an extra $500,000 in pipeline. Does that sound worth it? A
Yeah.
leadership team would be pretty silly to say no to that. And so it's all about, like you said, speaking their language, which is money. That's what they care about. That's not that I'm saying like they're all they care about is salary. They care about making the company money.
Yeah.
And if you can present that, if you can prove that a little budget goes a long way in terms of making the company money, it'd be pretty silly for them not to grant it to you. And if they don't, well, you asked, you tried.
Yeah, exactly. And you can always run these smaller campaigns with no budget and say, here's the numbers, here's the results. Look what I could potentially do with more. Do I have your backing? So I want to move on to the next question. This one touches on internal collaboration, which with your background, I think is quite interesting. The question is, how do I build a strong relationship with sales and make sure social isn't just seen just as a brand function, but also a revenue driving one?
Sure. So I worked in sales for 7 years before being a social media manager, head of social media. Um, and this one it is tough because sales is kind of its own club, and it's exclusive, and they kind of do things together. And there's always this kind of like joking fight between marketing and sales that, marketing doesn't give us the right materials, but sales won't do anything with the materials we give them. I've seen it at every company I've worked at. I've been on both sides of it. Obviously, it's kind of playful and silly and not true, but it's just kind of that rah rah, rival attitude that occurs. But I think the best step is starting with the SDR team, and that's a little easy for me to say. I'm in a unique situation because I was an SDR for 6 years and an account executive for one or two, and so um, I think like saying like, hey, like I'm one of you. I know what you care about. I know how hard your job is. I'm here to make it easier, and I'm here to make you more money, and I'm here to ensure that you have to do less cold calls. How are we going to do that? Step one, I train them on social media, why social media matters, why it's important not only for the brand, how they can reach out with specific messaging, tools that use AI to make connecting with people on LinkedIn and other social media platforms automated and easy, as well as how content creation can not only get them more opportunities, but how it's just good for them building their own brand. And so I have a training session that I've put on at multiple previous companies that I usually start with the SDR team, and I show them how, again, they can make more money, do less cold calls, and build their own brand while using social media. And I think that's like a pretty easy way for them to build trust and for me to collaborate with them. And typically, some SDR leadership or maybe sales leadership will sit in on those presentations. And every single time they've said, hey, that was really cool. Do you want to do this with my team, which would be the account executive teams? And you kind of got to wiggle your way into every team. I've done this with customer success. I've done this with certain marketing teams. But basically, like leveraging the fact that you know what you're talking about and utilizing that to present to SDRs and then sales leadership, and proving to them that I say this all the time, but that social media is a low effort, high ROI activity. And they can spend 5 to 10 minutes a week creating content, engaging content, doing things on social media with automation and AI powered tools, and maybe get an extra $50,000 in commission. So again, it's proving to people why social media is worth it. Doesn't matter what team, but you got to, like we keep saying, speak in their own terms. And salespeople are there to make money, so tell them how they're going to make more money.
That's super interesting. Thank you for sharing this. We're about to move into rapid fire, but this question was made for you. So I'm excited to hear your answer. As a B2B socials rising 30, I want to hear what you have to say. So we got this from a few professionals trying to keep that award up, trying to grow their thought leadership on LinkedIn. And they asked, how do I build my own brand on LinkedIn while managing the company's voice?
They're just two separate activities. You already know how to manage the company's voice, and so do what you're doing. It's most likely, ideally working. If not, check out TalkDesk on LinkedIn to see what is working. But how to build your own brand, honestly, just start creating content, look at what's performing well, look at how it's formatted, and I'll call it recycle, but recycle other people's ideas. Create, your own ideas. Share stories about yourself. Be authentic. Don't be too braggadocious. Don't be cringy. Don't say how when your dad died, here's what it taught me about, 5 things on social media. Don't do that. Just be a normal person. Figure out what works. And the best piece of advice is be consistent. It will not, you're not going to turn into some famous influencer on LinkedIn overnight. It takes years to build an audience, and it takes lots of engaging with your audience to build trust. So be consistent and just try new things, create content, and just if you're thinking about starting, start now.
Amazing. You heard it here first from a B2B Socials rising star who was awarded for his personal brand. We're just going to throw that in there. So go check out his LinkedIn if you need some inspiration. So the next question, I think it touches on a thing a lot of social media managers understand. Of course, not everything goes right. It happens. We've had conversations before. I've had conversations with loads of people in the industry. One follower asked, what do you do when things go wrong? For example, like a campaign fails or we get a bad comment on social.
Blame everyone else. No, I'm just kidding. I think the my de facto behavior in this situation would just be to talk to my boss, especially if, there's like an inappropriate or a bad comment on socials. I didn't make the comment. Hey, let me screenshot it, send a link, and say, "Hey, this just happened. What would you like me to do?" Then the onus is on leadership for them to tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And if it goes bad, well, I was just doing what my boss told me. If it goes good, I'm a great listener. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Um, I think when a campaign fails, it depends. I don't have a ton to do with campaign creation because we have campaigns team and marketing teams and events teams that all create campaigns. And honestly, we've had very few, like little to none campaigns fail. So I think if they are performing poorly, I think the best thing to do is just meet with the team who created the campaign, and say like, hey, maybe we could try this next time, and I think this might work better on social. If I'm creating the campaign and it fails, well, then I need to start A/B testing, uh, looking into the analytics that my social media management tool provides, and figuring out what went wrong and trying something new the next time. That's really all you can do because social media is a long game. You can't look at it in like kind of micro increments. You can only just perform better next time, and it will continue to help grow social. So that's my advice if something goes wrong.
Absolutely. I think that's amazing advice. And I also think because our work is so public, it really can feel like the end of the world and it really can feel so scary. But it's okay. And as you're saying, lean on the people around you. You'll learn the next. And they always say you make one mistake in marketing, you never make it again. I've learned from that lesson before in the past. I'm sure loads of marketers have. So it's okay. And each thing is a lesson. This next question we got was a very honest one. It came from someone who says they're always the go-to, but they're burning out. Um, they asked, how do I stop overcommitting and actually learn to trust and rely on my team around me?
That's tough. Because a lot of that trust is built on years and years of experience. And if you've had years and years of poor experience, you're probably going to be untrustworthy, and that's okay. But I think you probably shouldn't join a company if you don't feel like you trust the people that you're going to be working with. And I know that's like a little bit hindsight's 2020. Uh, but I do think that you should really try and speak to as many people as you can before you join the company and see if they seem like people you can trust. I think the other thing is in terms of overcommitting, it's okay to put up barriers to stop yourself from doing so. So, for example, if someone asks me to make a post last minute, I direct them to an Asana form that says, it basically forces them to gather all of the information that I will need for the post. And it says, I need XYZ time to schedule the post because our calendar is so full. And if they can't meet that, sorry, like the SLAs have been missed. I've also talked to my boss, who's been fantastic in terms of helping me communicate my SLAs with the company so that I don't just say yes to every single last minute request and we have 10 posts going out a day getting kind of like, spinning your tires in the mud, like losing traction because that's just too many. And so I'd say like first is, do the research ahead of time. Second, learn how to put up a barrier or a wall for yourself, whether that's just verbally or through a tool like an Asana form. And then if, thankfully I'm in this position, but hopefully your boss can help enforce those barriers, whether it's SLAs or something else, because overcommitting it sucks personally and it sucks for social media in general. Just doesn't
Yeah.
produce good results in any respect.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's really good advice. We're going to move on to the next question. Someone asked a deeper, more career focused one that stood out. They said, I feel like there aren't as many opportunities presented around me. So, how can I improve myself and push forward in my career?
My honest advice would be find a new job. I know that's not easy to hear, and that's kind of, I don't know, I guess coming from a place of privilege, considering I like my job. But if there are no opportunities to grow, if your team just refuses to value social media, um, I would start looking for a new job. But you can still improve yourself and push yourself forward in your career. How do you do that? While you are looking for a new job, start trying out new AI tools. Start reaching out to founders of other AI tools that maybe aren't free and asking them for a demo because you're interested. And, maybe if you can like sandbox and play around for a week or two, because now you know how to use six new AI tools. Teach yourself how to code with AI powered tools like Replit or something like that. That's something that I've been doing recently, because now I can code apps that specifically help me and the marketing team and employee advocacy and social media efforts. Go on YouTube and watch, videos, follow creators or influencers that are not just cringy influencers, but like actually helpful ones, and start learning from them. And so, if there are no opportunities, you got to take care of yourself and find a place that will value you and provide you with opportunities. But to make the most of and take advantage of those opportunities, um, start doing the research about, what's kind of on the horizon, what's pushing the envelope in terms of tech, and learn how to do those things. If you don't know how to edit videos, learn how to, watch a YouTube video, learn how to edit videos in Canva or Viid.io, learn how to, use AI to apply subtitles in Goldcast. Just make yourself better. Like it's not easy. I know it's easier said than done, but that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's great advice. And also, like you've said, there's courses online as well. So all these things that you can teach yourself. And if your company can't sponsor you, there are other ones online that might also help you push your career forward. I can't believe we're already at the last question. I love asking everyone this on Behind the Post, so I can't wait to hear what you say. You already shared so much valuable advice with us today, but we always wrap up every episode of Behind the Post with this question. So, what is the single best piece of social media advice you've ever received, or one that stuck with you most throughout your career?
The piece of advice that stuck with me most is that social media is not that serious. I think people, even in the B2B world, they'll view it as something that has to be perfect and exactly aligned with, um, like, what's the word? With the rules of how the social media graphics at your company have to look, or the copy and the rules of how the copy at your company have to look. You capitalize this. Can't use three dots here. We have to use this color in our graphics. The video needs XYZ type background. Um, no, it doesn't. It's social media. It's not that serious. The goal is to have fun. The goal is to catch people's eyes, give them a little bit of information, help them, make them laugh, remember your name, and maybe check out your company. The less serious, the more fun, the more interesting and engaging you can be, the better. And that not only applies to the content that you're putting out on social media, but just like my life and my attitude. Like people have very serious things that they deal with, and I have serious things that I deal with.
Yeah.
But when I'm not dealing with those things, life is not that serious. Social media is not that serious. Work is serious, but I'm doing work that's not serious. So I'd say just like have fun, take a breath, take a break.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, which I even told Elena before this meeting, I made a mistake and I had to fix it, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's just everything's going to be okay. So just it's not that serious. Relax, have fun at your job, especially if you work in social media. We have the most fun job.
Yeah.
Um, Everything's not that serious. That's what I'd say.
Amazing. I think that was the best advice we could have wrapped up this amazing episode with. Thank you so much, Jordan, for joining me and answering these questions. When I say we've been inundated with them, loads of people are asking them, and I knew you'd be the perfect person to come on. And if you guys haven't who are listening, run to follow Jordan on LinkedIn. He was chosen as a B2B Socials Rising Star for a reason, and you won't be disappointed. So, Jordan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And everyone who's made it this far, thanks for listening to me ramble. I really appreciate your time and hope everyone has a wonderful day.